Hi everyone, welcome to my sewing studio. I'm Lisa from Pink Holly Bush Designs, where we talk everything sewing and smocking. And today I am wearing the Harmony blouse from Stylearc, and I have a quick tutorial for you on how to do this fun sleeve detail. Now I just love this blouse because if you've followed me for any length of time, you know that one of the reasons, maybe the primary reason that I sew for myself is to be able to sew things with wonderful, unique details. I am all about the details, and a lot of times the more feminine the better, so I just love the ruffles. So today I am going to show you this quick tutorial because a lot of reviewers for this top noted that they were having trouble putting this together. So before we dive in, just a couple things about fit. So I cut the size 8. I graded to a 10 at the bust and 12 at the hips. The Harmony top comes in sizes 4 to 30, so a good size range there for you. Another change I made was I lowered this neckline by a good inch, just personal preference. As far as fit, I'm very pleased with the fit I did get, except for maybe one little thing, and that's this seam right here, the upper sleeve seam. So for this sleeve I cut the 8, but this upper seam I really could use a little bit more ease there, and this is not, I don't normally need to adjust a pattern for my upper arm, so that is something you might want to check before you cut out your pattern. As far as fabric goes, really the Harmony top is designed for woven fabrics. I made this top out of a very thin, in fact you can see sheer cotton voile that I purchased from Mood Fabrics in New York. I've lined it with a cotton lawn in the bodice. I did not line the sleeve at all. The sleeve is just as the pattern specifies. So you definitely want to pick something that's very thin and lightweight for this top, something that has a good drape. So a viscose would be ideal, a lawn or a voile, but something thin and sheer. And again, double check this, especially because I did do this with such a thin fabric, and I still could use a little ease there. So let's dive in and let me show you how you put this sleeve together. So here we are with our Harmony woven top. Now there's 4 pieces to the sleeve. There's your sleeve cap piece, the middle sleeve piece, the top flounce, and you can see there the lower flounce. Now the pieces are labeled with letters A and B. So this middle piece A, the way this is going to work is that the top flounce is going to get sewed to the top of the middle piece. The bottom flounce or lower flounce is going to get sewed to the bottom of the middle piece. So A to A and B to B. And then this whole piece is going to get sewed here, again matching A to A to the sleeve cap piece, and then you'll have the sleeve all put together at that point, and it'll get inserted into the blouse just like a normal sleeve would. Now this is a little confusing in that they printed this upside down, but ignore the direction of the wording and go by the letters. A goes to A and then B goes to B. Now I have my pieces here, my fabric pieces. Let's set this aside and you can see. So here's my sleeve cap piece, my middle piece, my upper flounce, and then my lower flounce. Now I'm sure you can see, but what I've done is I've gone through and without cutting off any seam allowances, I've used my serger to finish all of the short edges of all 4 pieces. Okay. Then I've also gone through and I've finished this lower edge of the sleeve cap piece. I've finished both edges of the middle piece, and I've finished the top edge that's going to get sewn to the middle piece of both the upper flounce and the lower flounce. I have not done anything to the hem edges of either flounce, and I haven't done anything to the actual sleeve cap part of the sleeve cap piece. This part I will finish after it's inserted into the armhole, and I'll finish the whole armhole as one. And these hem pieces I'm going to show you in just a minute. I have very carefully labeled the pieces before I took the pattern piece off of the fabric. Now part of that is it's very hard to tell the right and the wrong side from this fabric, but also in order to make sure all these are lining up, you want to make sure you know which part of this is A and B and which part of each of your flounce pieces is the top and the bottom. So I've marked A and B on this middle piece, and actually had it upside down, so you know A and B right there. And then on my upper flounce I have A marked, and on my lower flounce I have B marked. So I make sure I keep everything straight as I'm putting it together. Now I'm going to go to the serger again, and I'm going to serge my hem edges, and I'm going to do that with the wrong side facing up as it goes through the serger, and I'm going to set my differential feed at 1.5, and what that's going to do is slightly gather the bottom and make it turn towards the wrong side. So here's my pieces after they've been serged, and you can see how this just, it's not gathered per se, but it's brought it in enough that it's cupping to the wrong side. So now I'm going to take both of these pieces to the ironing board and press this whole edge flat. Here's ones that I've already done that with. My A and my B, and you can see how this gives just a really nice flat edge. And here it is from the right side, and you can see this is what you're looking for, just a really smooth rounded edge. Now if you didn't have a serger, then what I would do is do an overcast stitch on my sewing machine so that the edge is finished, and then I would run a long basting thread through this so that you could gather it just slightly like this to the wrong side and press it flat. So I'm going to go to my sewing machine, and I'm going to do each of the short edges of all 4 of the sleeve pieces. For each of my pieces now, I've gone through and I've sewed the short edges together and I've pressed them open. On the 2 flounce pieces, I made sure to have the hem opened up when I sewed this together, okay, like that. And then after I pressed this open, I've pressed the hem up in place. So here's my A piece. You can see I have a nice curved edge. Now I'm going to go to my sewing machine, and I'm just going to top stitch this hem edge in place. Now, if your fabric isn't keeping this edge nice and crisp for you like mine is, you could certainly use some glue based it at this point and glue this in place so that it's not going to shift on you while you top stitch that hem. So here are my sleeve pieces with all the short edges sewn together, so and pressed open. So my top sleeve piece, this is the middle sleeve piece, and then the upper flounce and the lower flounce. And you can also see that I have hemmed the bottom edges of the flounce. Now at this point, the Stylearc directions tell you to take the mid sleeve, attach A to the top and B to the bottom. So the upper flounce to the upper edge of this and the bottom flounce to the bottom edge of this. But the directions do not specify right sides together or right side to wrong side or whichever side. So in order to get a nice finished edge, and after doing a little experimenting, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by attaching this lower flounce, and I'm going to do this with right sides together. So I'm going to attach B to B, and I'm attaching the lower flounce to that B edge. Okay, and I'm going to start by matching up the seams and then just working my way around and pinning it. And the pieces do match up beautifully, but you will notice that there is quite a curve, and that's part of the reason that I did not use the serger to construct this. Is you want to be able to really follow that curve, and I've actually put the other sleeve together already, and so I do know it's very easy to sort of, as you're following that curve, to catch some of the piece or to catch a fold of fabric. So this really is not something that you want to serge, but you want to just sew it on the machine. And if you can, if you catch that fold, see how I'm matching it up to this curve, it's very easy to pick out and fix. Okay, so those are right sides together, the lower flounce to the mid sleeve. Now for the upper flounce, this time you don't want to do right sides together, and you'll see that when you attach the top sleeve piece. Again, you're going to match up the short side seams, but I'm putting the wrong side of the flounce against the right side of the mid sleeve piece. I'm going to go to my machine, and I'm just going to stitch this in place, the upper flounce, and then I'm going to stitch this seam. Now I've already stitched one so you can see it. This is how it comes out. Here's the upper flounce, here's the lower flounce, there's that middle sleeve piece, and you can see I have a nice finished edge here because I did it right sides together and then pressed the seam allowance towards the upper sleeve. But the nice thing about that is now as you're wearing this, if this flips up, if the wind does it or whatever, you don't have the serging showing. You have a nice finished edge in there that'll show. Sorry about that. Sew this on the machine, and I'll be back to show you how it looks. And here's my finished sleeve. So you can see again a nice finished edge because we did right sides together there, and a finished edge there as well. At this point, you insert the sleeve into the top just like you would any normal sleeve. I hope this tutorial's been helpful. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe and give a thumbs up. And I would love to know in the comments if there's a tutorial that you would like me to do, or another pattern that you would recommend I consider doing a tutorial for. Happy sewing!